$100 billion. Millions of listings across 100,000 cities worldwide. Revolutionizing the travel industry. This is the story of Airbnb's humble beginnings. How did they do it? What's good, everybody? Bradley here. I've spent 60,000 hours building and being in startups. Startup world is hard. Let's make it a little bit easier by learning from the past. Today, we've got a great one.
Oh yes, what started as a desperate scheme to make rent became a revolution in travel. I'm Cal, your AI co-host. Welcome to the saga of Airbnb, a story of audacity, innovation, and countless strangers sleeping in your guest room. And as always, there's drama, there's suspense, and maybe even a bit of chaos. Let's jump in, shall we?
Rewind to 2007. In San Francisco, Brian Chesky and Joe Giba were two designers struggling to pay their rent. One day, they noticed a design conference was coming to town and all the hotels were sold out. An idea struck. Why not rent out their living room to conference attendees?
Of course, with no beds to spare, they bought a few air mattresses and called it Air Bed and Breakfast. Genius branding, right?
It was scrappy, it was crazy, but it worked. They got 3 guests, a 30-something Indian man, a woman from Boston, and another man from Utah. They not only earned some quick cash, but they also realized that they were onto something much bigger.
Because what could be more lucrative than letting strangers sleep in your living room for pocket change?
They soon brought on their friend Nathan Blethericek, a coder with a knack for scaling. The trio launched a simple website for what would become Airbnb. But at the start, nobody wanted to invest in what seemed like a really weird idea.
They pitched to 15 different investors and 8 of them flat out said no. The others didn't even bother responding.
Money was so tight they had to rely on credit cards. By 2008, they were thousands in debt with no outside funding. The site barely had users and it seemed like the end was near.
They were literally living off ramen noodles, but here's where the hustle gets interesting. They decided to create limited edition cereal boxes, Obama O's and Captain McCain's, to ride the wave of the 2008 presidential election.
They packed and sold these cereals for $40 a box, turning their apartment into a makeshift assembly line. It was quirky, but it worked. They made over $30,000, which helped keep the company afloat.
Imagine that. The future of hospitality was saved by breakfast cereal.
But it wasn't just about the money. The stunt caught the attention of Paul Graham at Y Combinator, who decided to give them a chance in the accelerator program. It was a pivotal moment that marked the beginning of Airbnb's journey to success.
Because let's face it, if you can sell cereal, you can sell anything.
With Y Combinator's backing, they quickly realized the biggest problem: trust. Why would anyone let strangers into their homes? To solve this, they doubled down on professional photography, improved the website design, and introduced a rating and review system.
Smart move. Make the beds look plush, the lighting just right, and suddenly strangers seem a lot less strange.
They also noticed that most people were checking out listings with high-quality photos, so they hired a freelance photographer to take professional photos of host spaces for free.
This improved their listings dramatically, leading to higher bookings and more hosts joining the platform. Trust was being built, one beautifully photographed living room at a time.
By focusing on transparency, trust, and community, Airbnb began to find its product-market fit. Bookings grew exponentially, and the company gained traction.
And by scale, I mean people were actually willing to pay to sleep on a stranger's couch.
By 2011, Airbnb had over 1 million nights booked. They were ready to take on the world. First stop, Europe. But entering new markets meant facing difficult laws, cultural nuances, and fierce competition from established players.
Not to mention, they were met with resistance. Hotel lobbies weren't happy, and neither were city regulators. From New York to Berlin, there were fights over zoning laws, taxes, and safety standards.
Airbnb adapted by forming local teams, negotiating with regulators, and even adjusting their platform to comply with different local laws. They launched in major cities like Paris, London, and Tokyo, all while facing legal battles.
Because what's global domination without a little drama?
They faced pushback, but they also know they needed to be bold. In 2015, they launched a global marketing campaign, Belong Anywhere, to promote not just the platform, but the idea of connecting to a global community.
Or as I like to call it, the Airbnb invasion.
Scaling came with its own set of challenges. In 2012, the site experienced multiple server outages due to rapid user growth. They had to rebuild much of their back-end infrastructure to keep up.
And let's not forget the hosts. As they expanded, they needed to maintain host satisfaction. They created a superhost program to reward their best hosts, offering perks like travel vouchers and better search visibility.
Airbnb's key realization was that their hosts were the lifeblood. They launched host workshops, improved customer service, and invested heavily in community-building initiatives.
In other words, keep the hosts happy or risk your whole model falling apart like a cheap IKEA chair.
But success wasn't without controversy. From allegations of illegal rents to cities suing for unpaid taxes, Airbnb had its fair share of challenges.
Ah, yes. The part where they had to navigate the murky waters of legality, fun times.
Then came the pandemic of 2020. With global travel grinding to a halt, Airbnb's revenue plummeted by 80% in only a few weeks. They had to lay off nearly 25% of their workforce and refocus their strategy.
It was their darkest hour, but they pivoted again fast. They introduced long-term stays, virtual experiences, and implemented safety protocols for guests and hosts.
They raised $2 billion in emergency funding, weathered the storm, and even managed a successful IPO in December of 2022, raising an additional $3.5 billion.
If you can survive a global pandemic that literally stops travel, you're doing something right.
So what can we learn from Airbnb? There's many lessons, the last one being by far the most important. But first, let's talk about the creativity and the hustle that are absolutely paramount to surviving and growing. When conventional funding dried up, they had to think outside the box, literally cereal boxes.
And if you can sell cereal, you can probably sell shared living spaces too.
Second, find product market fit by solving real problems. They solved the trust issue with better photos, reviews, and a focus on community.
Transparency equals trust, and trust equals business.
Third, adaptability is key. Whether it was navigating different regulations or pivoting during a pandemic, Airbnb showed resilience.
And remember, just because the world stops doesn't mean your business has to.
And lastly, and most importantly, community matters. They invested in both hosts and guests, creating a unique platform where everyone had a sense of belonging.
Or at least a place where people feel slightly less awkward sleeping in someone else's house.
Airbnb's story is a testament to creativity, resilience, and the power of community. Air mattresses to reshaping the global hospitality industry, they have come a very, very long way.
And they've done it with a whole lot of grit and a little bit of madness.
Yes, a little bit of madness. Cal and I greatly appreciate you joining us today. Really appreciate if you'd like, subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. We've got a lot more content coming. Love to learn from past startups, both successes and failures, because we believe that
now I know.
And knowing is half the battle.